Welcome back to the program. The World Health Organization says it's cautiously optimistic about the progress of the Ebola response in the Democratic Republic of Congo after 90% of people at risk in the city of Bandaka were vaccinated. The organization's Deputy Director General for Emergency Preparedness and Response, Peter Salama, said more than 400 potential Ebola contacts had been vaccinated. He expressed hope to get the government's approval to use 5 experimental drugs to treat Ebola patients in a clinical trial, which could lay the groundwork for more rapid treatments in future outbreaks.
Medical staff celebrate the discharge of a former Ebola patient from a hospital in Democratic Republic of Congo's Bikoro after he's cured from the deadly disease. Wangi Nandi was admitted to the hospital's Ebola treatment center on May the 13th after contracting the disease from his brother, who he was looking after. His brother later died from Ebola.
We don't have the true picture of what's going on. We only see the tip of the iceberg. So what is very worrying is that we do not see all the transmission chains. There's not yet 100% follow-up of contacts. This means that we are still discovering new cases which have no link to the confirmed cases, and that is quite worrying.
International aid group Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders, says it has started to vaccinate Ebola frontline workers in Bikoro. On Tuesday, the World Health Organization said almost all the people it considers at immediate risk from an Ebola outbreak in Mbandaka, 130 kilometers north of Bikoro, have now been vaccinated against the disease. 25 people have died in the outbreak, which is the largest since more than 11,300 people died of Ebola in Guinea, Sierra Leone and Liberia in an outbreak that reached its peak in 2014.
What is radically changing compared to 2014 is the arrival of the investigational vaccine, which is entering an efficacy study and which has already proven its efficacy in Sierra Leone and Guinea. We think that this will play an important role in controlling the evolution of the epidemic, because we will directly protect people on the front line, doctors, nurses, hygienists, but also ambulance attendants.
The outbreak has so far caused 54 cases of the disease, and 47 of those have been in the rural communities of Bikoro and Iboko, which is where the outbreak was first declared.
A military court in Somalia today sentenced 3 men to death by firing squad for the 2017 October attack that killed 20 people. The men were said to be part of the extremist militant group Al-Shabaab, who carried out an attack on Nasa Hablod 2 hotels in the capital Mogadishu, injuring 40 others. The 3 men pleaded guilty before the 1st Division Military Court of the Somali National Army. However, the case is still open for appeal despite the judge's sentence. The South African trade union has accused the government of legitimizing poverty after the country set its first ever minimum wage. South Africa Federation of Trade Unions, SAFTU, says it's outraged and disgusted, but not surprised by the passing of the minimum wage bill, which was overwhelmingly endorsed by Parliament. The bill sets the wage at a minimum of 20 rand an hour, which for a 40-hour week sets the wage at about 3,200 rand per month. The union says Parliament missed an opportunity to free workers from the oppressive wage gap. The government said it hoped the new guideline will improve the lives of the lowest paid workers in the labour market and alleviate poverty and inequality. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres was in Mali yesterday, where he met President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta and paid tribute to UN peacekeepers in the country. In a commemoration of the United Nations Peacekeepers Day, Mr. Guterres appealed to donors to provide more predictable support to the G5 Sahel force fighting to contain West African jihadists. Rising violence across Mali, especially in its desert north, has cast doubt over the feasibility of elections scheduled for July 29th, in which President Keïta announced his bid for another term. Islamist militants took over northern Mali in 2012 before French forces pushed them back in 2013. The International Organization for Migration and the European Union are ramping up efforts to return African migrants home. This comes after thousands have died making the perilous sea crossing to Europe, and governments in some countries have pushed for tougher rules to stem the numbers arriving. The migrants are often returning from places like Algeria and Libya, where many get stuck en route to Europe, as well as from Europe itself. Efforts have accelerated over the past 6 months following revelations of migrant slave markets in Libya.
After her failed attempt to reach Europe left her jobless and penniless in Algeria, Fatou Kinney turned to the International Organization for Migration, IOM, an agency she'd heard helped migrants return home. The United Nations agency flew her back to Senegal in January last year and gave her more than $1,000 to start a tailoring business in the seaside capital, Dakar. But 1 year on, 26-year-old Kinney is struggling. After paying the rent for a 25 square meter storefront, she takes home about $29 in a month.
Je ne suis pas arrivée en Italie parce que le route de Libye, c'est dur.
I couldn't get to Italy because the road through Libya is hard. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. There were a lot of people. I ended up staying in Algeria to work for a year, but I didn't make any money in Algeria. There's no money in Algeria. Then there were a lot of problems, so I went into the IOM's office, and they were the ones who helped me come back to Senegal.
According to her, it's nothing compared to what she earned as a cleaner in a hospital before she left for Algeria. The IOM acknowledges that migrants face similar challenges on their return to those that prompted them to leave their home country in the first place, and that often they try to leave again.
If someone gave me a massive project, I don't think I would succeed. And so it really is, how do we accompany the migrant in the best way so that not only are we putting them in a situation where the project is something they want, but also something that their community wants, that their community needs. And then how do we show them at least the small elements of management that will enable them to sustain a business.
In late 2016, the EU and the IOM launched their biggest repatriation project yet, a €174 million fund to help bring back migrants and jumpstart their lives in a way that will remove the need to head for Europe. The IOM recorded 171,635 arrivals by boat from Africa in 2017, which does not include the likely thousands of others that tried and failed.
That's Network Africa. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Joke Rogers.